I've always been interested in construction. You play with Legos as a kid, you get fascinated at how things go together. My dad was an auto mechanic, so always tinkering with stuff at home and trying to understand how the mechanical system in the basement worked, dig into it as a kid and get in trouble because now the house doesn't have heat. Just trying to understand the world around me. My education at university was in civil engineering, and in my final year I was looking to get into more crane design, structural design. I took a course, Building Science and Technology, taught by Dr. John Straub, and I was hooked. I knew that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my career. I think even in elementary school, high school, understanding of the science and math, but also on the English side, being able to be well spoken about it is very important in our industry. We are seeing advances in the STEM programs across the United States. I volunteer at a school here locally in Washington, D.C., where we bring engineering and architecture into the classroom and let the students kind of mess with thinking about things like how does an earthquake affect a building, and how do bridges stand up, and how does heat get into our building, and how does it get out. And so we're using very basic tools. We've had them run hygrothermal models using WFI and Lawrence Berkeley's Therm tool to do fractions to figure out heat flow through a wall. And most people who are students, they want to know about the world around them and the environment that they're in. And I think it's more that we need to give them the opportunity to learn from us in the profession with volunteering activities and helping to grow these programs. Physics is extremely important. Chemistry is also important. The materials that we build with have different chemistry, and so some understanding of the materials and the different molecules that make up the materials that we use is actually quite important in the built environment. Having an understanding, just a fascination with the world around you. So if it may not even be a course, but just if you're interested in what's going on around you and how it impacts not just the built environment, maybe something like transportation, then it's probably something that engineering and building technology and building science would be of great interest to you later. With our business, it's very fast-paced, so on a typical day I may have 8 or 9 different projects to look at. A lot of my clients are architects. We're looking at high-end design, glass design, roofs, walls. We have a lot of developers that we also work with. So we're spending a lot of time answering the client's questions, and then also using the knowledge base that we have and the experience that we have and being able to put some science behind what they're trying to do. Great architecture is fantastic. We like great architecture that performs. And so it's not forcing the performance on the architecture, but understanding the architecture and then finding ways to accommodate performance within that architecture. That is extremely challenging and fascinating to us. It may be that you have a condition on a building that looks beautiful, but you can't insulate it very well. And so the challenge is, how do I insulate this or trick this into thinking it's something that's not by putting the insulation in a certain location to deal with thermal performance. It may be how I lay out the mechanical system, or as simple as moving furniture, so the person is experiencing a different condition than they would without a different interior design. So we're spending a lot of time just helping people think about what they have in their project and finding ways of accommodating performance within it. I interact with civil engineers, structural engineers, mechanical engineers. I also interact with a lot of architects, those that are designing everything from the furniture that we sit on to the buildings that we're in. I interact with owners and developers, the people who have the money to put forward to make these projects happen. And then also, separate from just the stuff that we're paid to do, I interact with all the members of my different committees. And so those are university professors. I also teach at a university here in Washington, D.C. So on a daily basis, I may also be interacting with students. Well, first going home and feeling good at night is good, seeing the family. But separate from that, I think it's knowing that we made a difference on the project. At the end of the day, that we're going to get something that's not only going to look absolutely wonderful, but it's going to perform in a way that people are not going to be taking away from the architecture. Well, it's a great looking building, but it's just absolutely horrible to be in. It's not a great building to be in from the standpoint of how we feel during the day. And just knowing that we've made a difference in developing that. And also over time, working with a number of our repeat clients, knowing that they're growing as a firm is very, very rewarding to be able to go into the next meeting. And the staff already has an initial answer, so we don't have the answer fully developed yet, but they've gotten most of it. And seeing them grow as students, because even within the profession, all of us are continuing to learn constantly. It's what drives us in the business, and I think it's completely effective to see that in your own client base and your own partners and colleagues.